Friends, it's Tom again. Hey, I thought I would go through quickly some of the reasons that I have for putting this channel together, writing the book, and putting the website out there. And in actuality, this all started so long ago. And I hope the road noise doesn't bother you too much. I'm driving down the road and I thought I would just put some ideas down, Anyway, so when I was a kid, I had a didactic memory. And it was just a fun thing. I remember reading a book, and I would hand the book over to one of my brothers and say, hey, read a sentence, and I'll tell you what page it's on. And so, it was just a game. But I don't know if I mentioned before, my maternal grandfather was a Wisconsin Synod Lutheran minister, at least for a time. Not that he wasn't a good minister, it's just he got tired of the hierarchy telling him to convince the people to put more donations in the tray on Sunday. And of course that was back during the Depression, and the people didn't have money. So what do? They pressured him until the point where he said that it wasn't working for him anymore, and so he ended that career as a minister. Well, of course, we kept going to church as Lutherans in Minnesota, where I was born and raised. You can probably hear it every now and then, and my accent sometimes comes through, and sometimes I do it just for fun, Yeah, then, for sure. 2 or 3 of those will get her done for yous. That's how people used to sound up there in central Minnesota. I grew up on a dairy farm, milking cows, 100 of them, before going to school in the morning and of course again in the evening. And we had 1,000 acres of property to take care of. And when I got tired of that, I went to work as a welder. And when I got tired of that, I joined the military, and they were kind enough to pay for my education. I became a university professor after I left the military. After I got hurt, did 16 years in the military, got hurt, had to get out. Became a university professor, and I guess maybe the rest is history, right? Well, back when I was 12, I had to go through catechism, which is a rite of passage that many Christian groups go through in order to train young people on the belief system itself. I disliked it greatly. Not because I didn't want to learn, but because of the attitudes and the things I was being told that I just couldn't agree with. And so I acted up And to the point where finally the minister, who was really a very nice man for the most part, said to me, "Tom, if you think you're so smart, why don't you get up and recite the books of the Bible?" I said, "Okay." So, of course, I stood up. I started at Genesis, and I, of course, ended at Revelations, much to his dismay and chagrin. And then he said, "Oh, really? Oh, so you're a smart guy, huh? Well, how about you recite the books in reverse order?" And so I did. After which he said, "Well, obviously, there's not much that I can teach you then, is there?" And I responded, "I don't think so." And so he booted me out of catechism. But he let me be in the catechism graduation ceremony, really mostly for my mother's benefit. And then every single year he would try to find a way to get me involved in the different things going on at church, and eventually tried to enroll me in the seminary, telling my mother that if we don't find a way to control him and utilize his intellect for God's purposes through the church, that someday I would end up not only disrupting where I was going to church, but maybe religion as a whole. And I laugh at that now, thinking, wow, he was a pretty smart guy, because that's where I am today. So after I got kicked out of catechism, my older brother and I began discussing, the different things going on with the negative things, and of course some of the positives that went on in organized religion. Remember, I was 12 at the time, he was 14, and that discussion continued our entire lives as we investigated different churches and different religions, and then we would come back and compare and contrast the things that we found in these other belief systems. I became a Mormon when I was 18, and he became a Pentecostal. A few years later, when I was in the military, I started studying Buddhism. At the same time, my brother started becoming a lay minister in I think it was an Episcopal congregation, where he did the music. He was the musical director for the church. And he worked for this minister who they lovingly called the Rockin' Reverend, because he would sing along with the choir and along with my brother, and they'd be up in the front of the church doing a duet. I look back on it today, it seems kind of funny, doesn't it? And then I decided I wasn't getting enough exposure to other belief systems. And so when I was in Japan, I started studying Shinto, or Shintoism, as you might want to call it, and realized, man, I did not have a very clear understanding of religion at all. And I looked at the commonalities, I looked at the differences, and this idea started forming in my head as I had these discussions with my brother. And so I really began then delving into other religions of the Far East. You know, I started looking into Hinduism. I looked at I read through the Quran multiple times so I could understand what it is that they believed, and why there was such animosity, it seemed, between many religions. I really dug into Judaism with a friend of mine who was Ethiopian, but an Ethiopian Hebrew. And so his take on Judaism was really kind of eye-opening for me, because, you know, I of course I read the Torah and different things, and I understood what was being said, but maybe I didn't understand all of the connotations, right? So a few years ago, then my older brother passed away, and I didn't have that outlet anymore for those kinds of in-depth discussions with somebody who understood me and understood what I had been through in my life. And, you know, it was a significant loss to me personally. And I had a couple of younger brothers, but it was never a thing between me and them. And so I decided to sit down and do what my older brother had talked about. His name was Tim, by the way. So don't ask me why, but my parents were like, oh, we're going to name all the boys with T names. So there was Tim, Tom, Tare, and Ted. It got so confusing because we all had the same middle name too. So everybody was T.A. Myers. So when we got stuff in the mail, it got a little confusing. Anyway, so my brother and I had always talked about putting a book together to explain the things that we had been discussing and finding out, and then sharing it with as many people as possible, and trying to have discussions to see if they were experiencing the same kind of that angst, that deep-seated feeling that something was wrong across the board. I don't care what religion people go to, but there was never fullness. There was never fulfillment. There was never there was never a feeling that the things that we were being told were actually from God. And instead, that they were created by man, much of it, in order to control other men, or I should say other people. And so I put the book together as kind of that preliminary starting point for discussion. And then I built a website. I hope you'll go take a look at it, ofgodandman.org, to lay a foundation for the discussions. Hopefully that people would not only engage with me, and I don't care what religion you're from. I'm not trying to convert anybody to anything else, truly. And if the religion that you attend, or belief system, whatever it might be, makes you happy and fulfilled, more power to you. I'm happy for you. Tell me about it. I want to know. Truly, I do. So I created the website in order, and for, of course, the Facebook page of God and Man on Facebook, in order to have these discussions with a goal of eventually that folks would start getting together in groups and doing the same things that my brother and I did with the discussions that we were having. And I thought to myself that people would kind of pick up and do it. However, I found that my ability to outreach is not where it should be, right? And I hadn't reached a lot of people. Although on the website, I've actually had 9,000 plus people come on, and I should say on the Facebook page, 9,000 people plus come on and say, give it the thumbs up. They like it. And I said, well, how else can I reach out to people? Now, I love watching videos on YouTube. And so I was like, oh my goodness. The next thing that I need to do is create a YouTube channel and explain the who, what, why, when, where, how of what I'm trying to accomplish here. And see if I can create a community. A community of critical thought. It's what I always taught my students back when I was a full-time professor. Remember in my last video, or it might be my last video, one of the videos out there, know what you believe, know why you believe it, and be able to defend it with critical thinking. Not because, well, I've sat in church and that's what the minister said. No. That don't work. Or don't give me this, well, if I don't follow what my religion says, I can be ostracized, excommunicated, or in some cases, if somebody changes from one religion to another, that they can expect to be brutalized or even killed. Which I find repugnant in the extreme. And there's more than one religion that does that, by the way. Anyway. So, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. And last week, my next younger brother passed away from complications due to COVID. And I realized that, well, I already knew it, none of us is going to be here forever. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone. So, if I was going to make this happen and share these ideas, that hopefully bring comfort or whatever to other people, I better get on it. I'm no spring chicken either. Next week, actually, in just a few days, I'll be 58. I know I look much younger. But yeah, 58 years old. What's that, was it Johnny Paycheck that sang that song? I'm on the backside of 30 and back on my own. Except for I'm now on the backside of 50, going on 60. Oh, goodness. Which means that I've been having these discussions for almost 50 years. Wow. I don't have my older brother to talk to about these things anymore, and I've lost a lot of friends. They say once you hit 50, you attend more funerals than you do weddings. And that's absolutely true. I'm hoping that you all, or since I'm living down here in Georgia right now, y'all will engage me in these thoughtful discussions and become part of my circle that impacts the heart, the mind, and the soul. Thanks. And see you, friends.